When I heard that there was a new Astro City comic for sale after almost 4 years, my reaction was along the lines of Astro City, for those who might not know, is a series of tales set in a superhero universe connected together by the city where most of these adventures take place, the titular Astro City. The focus of these tales is generally not on the superheroes doing super things, but more on the world around them and how people, and anthropomorphic cartoon lions at times, react to them. When it does focus on the heroes, it tends to be about their private lives and what being a superhero means to them. And these are probably some of my favorite superhero stories of all time. I didn't think that there would be another issue of Astro City ever again. After the series ended at issue 52, because when you're published under the DC banner, it's not the worst idea in the world to have some corporate synergy, there were initially going to be a bunch of original graphic novels, or OGNs, continuing the tales of the people living in Astro City. The first one was going to be about the Enforcer, who is a mix of Iron Man and Green Lantern. Sadly, due to a combination of factors like the cancellation of the Vertigo imprint, which I maintain to this day is a huge loss, the merging of WB and AT&T, and certain people like Mark Doyle leaving, well, it kind of seemed like Astro City was lost in the shuffle. This was further compounded by the poor health of series writer Kurt Busiek, whose work we have covered a few times before on this channel at the time. And I'm really glad to see that he seems to have recovered around a year ago when he started writing The Marvels at Marvel, which did reignite my hope for a new Astro City series, but I didn't hear anything at the time. And I thought that was it. We had some great memories, but it was time to say goodbye. Until I saw this comic. And then I did something I generally do not do and probably will not do anytime in the near future. I bought it. Yes, oh God, abso-friggin-lutely yes. Let's actually talk about the issue in question now, shall we? The story opens with 5 teenage heroes stranded in what appears to be the middle of nowhere. We find out that they are on a road trip to do a bit of soul searching before they move on to adulthood. The cast is completely new except for Sunstrike, though the character has been rarely featured and we aren't even certain which version of her we are seeing here. The year is 1969, the time, summer, and yes, this was before the Bryan Adams song. The comic goes out of its way to mention this fact. But still, if you thought of a Summer of 69 joke, go ahead. While traveling across America, they fought several supervillains and saved people. However, when they actually have a quiet moment to themselves, they seem to have nothing to talk about. And they certainly don't want to think. A few weeks back in Kansas City, they had met up at the funeral for the superhero team, the Jayhawks. We are then given a backstory for this team, a bunch of superheroes who came together by accident, but stayed together to do good, as is quite often the case. These teenage superheroes were adored by the public and by other teens around the world who looked up to them. But as times grew darker in America, they chose to take a stand against what they saw as wrong in the world, and saw public opinion turn against them. However, they kept on fighting, until one fateful day they faced off against a racist group calling themselves the White Knights, and their leader, who appeared to be a mystical being powered by hate. And in their efforts to defeat him, the Jayhawks ended up paying the ultimate price, except for one of them. The sole surviving member of the Jayhawks, Raleigh, who is also one of the heroes on the road trip, was sent to get help from other guys like Honor Guard and the police, but by the time they arrived, it was too late. After the funeral, which was a private affair attended only by other teen heroes, there was a sense of unease, frustration, and confusion among them. Do they continue as they were? Do they return to their former lives? Or do they quit altogether? As most of the heroes left, leaving only the 5 we saw at the beginning, one of them, Bugle Boy, brings up the idea to go on a road trip. It did seem like a good idea at the time, but now when they actually had a quiet moment to contemplate, they seem to be at a loss for words. Raleigh is conflicted, feeling that he should honor his friends and start a new team of Jayhawks, but that would end up potentially risking more kids. Even his mentor seems to be thinking about packing it in, and he's not the only hero. Sunstrike knows what's set for her. She keeps on until her mentor retires, then she trains up a successor and keeps going on until she herself retires. Bugle Boy, who kind of reminds me of early Dick Grayson, says that he wants to continue, but he'll probably take on a new name like Clarion, similar to how Dick went from being Robin to Nightwing. He keeps excitedly talking about his plans until he notices Majorette, his fellow sidekick to the hero Music Man, and his girlfriend walking away. He goes to talk to her while Rivets the robot kid ponders what he should do. While Raleigh points out that as a robot, he doesn't technically age like the rest of them, Rivet says he can upgrade himself to an adult form, but isn't sure of what he should do. While the rest of them talk, Bugle Boy goes to talk to Majorette, or Carol. She says she never expected to keep on doing this and is considering law school. If Bugle Boy is Dick Grayson, then Majorette is certainly Barbara Gordon. Or at least the pre-crisis version of her, who would initially be in it for the thrills but would continue to balance her duties as Batgirl as she grew older and became a congresswoman. All their discussions are temporarily put on hold as the hero Supersonic, who I talked about in a video I made way back, flies over their camp to see if they are okay. This puts an end to their discussion as they get annoyed on realizing that their mentors and other adult heroes were keeping an eye on them. They call it a night and head out next morning, their questions unanswered. In the present, we are reunited with Samaritan, who I have also covered on this channel. I wasn't kidding when I said I loved Astro City. He talks to his supercomputer about how he feels that the world is growing darker. Several heroes have retired, and while new ones are coming up, by the time they're ready, it might be too late. He notes that even if all of it is in his head, he wonders if this cycle is forced to repeat itself, never ending, never changing. As he flies off, we see several voice boxes similar to the narration that we've seen throughout the comic, revealing that the fallen members of the Jayhawks are still around, stuck in a sort of spectral form. This is an excellent reveal, cleverly foreshadowed throughout the comic. At the beginning, we see the panels through a sort of hazy filter, and when the teen heroes set off on their journey again, we see the spirits of the Jayhawks watching over them. Except instead of a metaphorical your loved ones are watching over you, which these types of images generally indicate, the Jayhawks are actually watching over them, setting themselves up as the driving force for the new series to come in a similar way the Broken Man and the Silver Agent had before. This comic's pretty great, serving as a great jumping on point for newcomers, and for older fans, it'll make you feel like you had never left. This comic uses a very interesting framing device. Teenagers going on a road trip in order to find themselves before they can decide what they want to do as adults, stepping into that uncertainty that is adulthood. And it does a good job with it. It also shows that despite everything, no matter how prepared you are, or how sure you are of yourself, or even if you know what you should do, there's always going to be a part of adulthood which you cannot prepare for. And that uncertainty is something that'll always be there. You can't prepare for it. And yeah, it's really well done in this comic. You are now leaving this Astro City video. Please drive carefully.